If you are genuinely serious about success, the very first move you must make is cutting the habit of watching everyone else. It is effortless to observe their wins, admire their lifestyle, study their pace, and quietly ask yourself why you are not standing where they are standing. But every single second you spend looking outward is a second you spend looking outward is a second you are not investing in building what belongs to you. The truth is straightforward and uncomplicating. Focusing on others creates distraction. Focusing on yourself creates direction. When you stop chasing someone else's timeline and start showing up fully for your own, everything shifts. Success does not arrive through comparison. It arrives through clarity, through discipline, and through doing the specific work that actually moves your life forward. Imagine for a moment that you are standing at the absolute center of your own universe. Everything you wish to achieve, every vision you hold with conviction, every dream you have carried in the quiet of your own mind begins with you. This is not a metaphor offered for inspiration. This is the most practical and powerful truth you will ever encounter. Your life will unfold precisely as you command it to, but only if you first learn to command it from within your own mind. The greatest minds I have spent my life studying: industrialists, inventors, leaders, and philosophers. Each one of them, without exception, began their journey toward significance, not with inherited wealth, not with pre-existing influence, but with a definite purpose and an unwavering belief in their own potential. They made a decision, a single irrevocable decision, to become the complete masters of their own fate. Consider Andrew Carnegie. Born into poverty in a one-room cottage in Scotland, he arrived in America with no wealth, no family connections, and no formal education. What he carried instead was a burning vision, a desire so intensely focused that no circumstance could extinguish it. Mr. Carnegie understood what so many around him refused to accept. The greatest limitations a man will ever face are not the ones imposed from the outside world. They are the ones he willingly accepts within the boundaries of his own thinking. Mr. Carnegie did not waste his energy measuring himself against others. He did not envy the fortunes of those who came before him, nor did he make himself smaller in the presence of people who seemed more educated, more experienced, or more favored by circumstance. Instead, he went inward. He studied himself with ruthless honesty. He mastered the direction of his own thoughts. He concentrated every available unit of his mental and physical energy toward the vision he had chosen with complete commitment. He planted his feet at the center of his own universe and commanded the world to meet his will. This is precisely the lesson I am urging you to embrace with everything you have. Stop looking sideways. Your neighbor's success carries no information about your potential. The promotions earned by your colleagues, the achievements celebrated by your friends, the recognition collected by others, none of these are your compass. You were not placed here to live someone else's dream. You were placed here to live someone else's dream. You were placed here to wake up your own. Every time you compare your current progress to someone else's current position, you surrender a piece of your power. You move the center of your universe to a location outside yourself. And the moment your focus abandons your inner world, your thoughts scatter, your actions become reactive rather than purposeful, and your results become inconsistent. You must reclaim the throne of your own mind. You must believe with absolute conviction that your ideas, your values, and your ambitions are worthy. They are more worthy than the opinions of observers. They are more worthy than your current results suggest. They are more worthy than any fear or doubt you are currently carrying. When you begin operating from that center, life stops happening to you and begins happening for you. Your thoughts achieve clarity, your vision sharpens, your actions align with your purpose, and the universe, strange and purposeful as it is, begins responding to the frequency of a mind that has decided what it wants and refuses to be distracted from it. All great change begins within. All success is first created in the invisible realm of thought before it ever takes physical form. Before the skyscraper rises, the blueprint is drawn. Before the fortune is built, the vision is formed. Before the man becomes powerful in the world, he first becomes disciplined in the interior of his own mind. So I ask you directly, what is the vision you are carrying within? What idea burns with enough heat inside you that you cannot honestly let it go? Do not ask whether it is possible given your current circumstances. Ask whether it is genuinely yours, because if it is truly yours, then you must stop waiting for someone else's permission. Stop searching for external signs that the timing is finally right. Stop comparing, hesitating, and allowing doubt to serve as a reason to delay. Seize complete authority over your inner world. Declare yourself the master of your own fate. You are not here to imitate what others have built. You are here to create what only you can build. The greatest souls in all of human history rose not because they followed the path others had already cleared, but because they trusted their own inner voice above every competing noise. That voice exists in you. It has never abandoned you. It is waiting for you to finally stop ignoring it. Throughout history, those who reached the highest levels of achievement and left marks on the world that outlasted them all shared one quality that no external circumstance could provide and no obstacle could permanently remove: an unwavering belief in themselves, not arrogance, not ego performing for an audience, a quiet, deep inner conviction that their vision was worth every cost, worth every form of resistance, worth surviving every failure that stood between them and its fulfillment. Thomas Edison failed more than 10,000 times before he succeeded in creating the electric light bulb. 10,000 times the evidence suggested he was wrong. 10,000 times the reasonable conclusion would have been to accept defeat and redirect his energy elsewhere. Most men would have surrendered long before reaching a fraction of that number. They would have pointed to their effort, their exhaustion, and their years of work as justification for concluding that success simply was not intended for them. But Mr. Edison possessed something that all genuine achievers must develop and protect: a belief in the fundamental worthiness of his own idea. He did not measure himself against those who moved faster. He did not ask why his success was taking so much longer than it seemed to take for others. He understood what very few are willing to accept. Failure is not a verdict delivered by the universe. It is feedback provided by the process. Every failed attempt was a step closer to mastery, a piece of the puzzle made visible, a refinement of the dream rendered possible only by the attempt. This is the spirit you must carry into your own work. You carry within you a seed of greatness. It lives quietly, waiting for you to believe in it enough to act on it, waiting for you to nurture it with the persistence, discipline, and courage that your belief will eventually generate. But before any of that can happen, it waits for one thing above all others: your belief. Belief is not a luxury available only to the specially selected. It is the foundation upon which all progress is constructed. Without it, ideas remain at the level of wishful thinking. Without it, goals remain permanent fantasies. Without it, your greatest talents sit unused and your most honest dreams fade quietly into regret. Doubts and fears are not signs that something is fundamentally wrong with you. They are simply part of the journey that everyone who has ever built anything meaningful has walked through. Every person who has accomplished something of substance has spent time in the valley of uncertainty, but they kept moving. They refused to give fear the controls. They refused to give fear the controls. They refused to hand the direction of their life over to self-doubt. They fortified their belief until it functioned as an actual fortress, repeating their vision until it felt more real than their current circumstances, standing by their direction when no one else understood it, and choosing belief again every single morning, regardless of what the previous day had produced. So I ask you honestly, what do you believe about yourself right now? Do you believe about yourself right now? Do you believe you are capable of more than your current situation reflects? Do you believe your dreams are valid, your efforts are meaningful, your ideas are worth the investment of your full commitment? If you do, then it is time to act in a way that is consistent with that belief. Speak as someone who believes. Move as someone who believes. Plan, think, and build as someone who knows with certainty that success is already theirs, provided they refuse to release their grip on the vision. Do not wait for the world to validate you before you begin. That is the most reliable path to a life unlived. Validation begins within the moment you make the decision to believe in your own power, your own path, your own possibility. The moment that decision is made, you begin pulling success toward you. The people, the opportunities, the ideas, and the resources necessary for your growth begin appearing, not by accident, but by the cause you have created inside yourself. This is what the great ones understood that most people never discover. Belief is not a feeling you stumble into when conditions are favorable. It is a choice made deliberately, a decision renewed daily, and the more consistently you choose it, the stronger you become, the more genuinely unstoppable your movement grows, and the more clearly you begin to see how vast your potential has always been. Imagine sailing a vast ocean without any navigational instrument. The winds shift in every direction. The waves carry you wherever they choose. Every movement becomes a reaction to circumstances beyond your control. There is no direction, no intention, only drift. This is precisely how the majority of people live their entire lives, without clear goals, reacting to life as it arrives, rather than commanding the direction in which it moves. But every genuine builder of lasting achievement lived by one foundational rule: define the destination before the journey begins. Walt Disney is recognized across every part of the world as a symbol of what creative vision can produce. But few people remember how many times he was rejected before success agreed to stay with him. He was dismissed from a newspaper position for lacking imagination. He faced bankruptcy more than once. He experienced betrayal from partners and closed doors from investors. Yet through all of it, he held on to one thing with a grip that nothing could loosen: a clear vision. He knew what he was building long before the world could see it. He saw it with complete clarity in the architecture of his own imagination. And that clarity became the compass that made every other obstacle navigable. When you know precisely what you want, you summon the full force of your mind toward that specific aim. You begin filtering your experience differently. Relevant opportunities become visible where they previously blended into background noise. Distractions become easier to dismiss because they have nothing to offer someone with a defined destination. Energy flows where genuine attention goes. A vague dream produces vague results at best. But a definite goal, committed clearly to paper, reviewed with daily discipline, and pursued with sustained purpose, that becomes something with the force of nature behind it. It becomes a living agreement between you and the future you are committed to creating. Where are you going? Answer this question with the seriousness it deserves. Not casually, not with the first answer that surfaces to avoid the discomfort of honest examination. Sit with it. Allow the silence to work. Become entirely clear about what you genuinely want, not what others have decided is appropriate for you, and not what fear has decided is safely achievable. What do you want at the actual core of your being? Is it financial independence built on your own terms? Is it mastery in the work that makes you feel most alive? Is it freedom or meaningful contribution or a legacy that continues after you are gone? Whatever it is, write it down. Do not allow it to remain only in the form of thought. Thoughts are impermanent. Goals that are written become anchors. They remind you precisely who you are and exactly where you have committed to going. Review them every day. Speak them aloud. Let them burn so clearly in your mind that no passing distraction can reduce their brightness. Let every decision you make serve your goal. If a choice moves you closer, pursue it without hesitation. If it moves you further away, reject it with the same decisive energy. With clarity comes focus. With focus comes momentum. And with momentum, you begin producing results that once appeared impossible. Do not be intimidated by the scale impossible. Do not be intimidated by the scale of your goal. Be genuinely concerned about the prospect of living without one. The real tragedy is not in aiming high and falling short. The real tragedy is in aiming low, hitting the target, and spending the rest of your life wondering what you were actually capable of. Successful people are not the recipients of disproportionate luck. They are people of intention. They move with purpose. They do not scatter their available energy across 100 competing directions. They move like a river, powerful, consistent, and unstoppable because they have a defined direction and everything they do serves it. Define your goals with specificity. Make them clear enough that even in your weakest moments, when doubt arrives and motivation has temporarily departed, you can read what you wrote and remember with complete certainty the path you committed to. Let your goals be your navigational stars on the darkest nights. Let them bring order to your chaos and direction to your effort. A person without a defined goal is permanently vulnerable to every shifting wind and every passing storm. But the person with a clear goal becomes a builder, a creator, a conqueror of their own destiny, through the simple discipline of knowing where they are going and refusing to be redirected. When the name Abraham Lincoln is spoken, the mind immediately constructs the image of one of the most revered leaders in recorded history. But the story most people carry omits the most instructive part. Long before he held the highest office available to him, Mr. Lincoln walked a path that was marked consistently by failure, rejection, and profound personal sorrow. He lost elections he needed to win. He failed in business ventures he invested himself in. He endured personal tragedies that would have permanently broken people of lesser internal strength. By every conventional measure available at the time, he had more than enough reason to accept defeat and live a smaller life. Yet he did not. Why? Because Abraham Lincoln understood something that the majority of people around him overlooked entirely. Failure does not define you. Persistence does. He refused categorically to allow the accumulation of his setbacks to write his story for him. He saw each defeat not as a permanent closed door, but as a bend in the road that required a different approach. He treated each disappointment as a specific invitation to grow, to reflect more honestly, and to return with greater strength than he had brought to the previous attempt. That relentless forward motion, that refusal to stay down when the circumstances of his life had knocked him there repeatedly, is what ultimately transformed him from a man battered by difficulty into a leader whose name endures across generations. The same principle applies to your life with equal force. The road to genuine greatness is not a smooth, straight, well-lit path. It is rugged, unpredictable, and frequently unforgiving. But embedded within every challenge it presents is a truth that changes everything once you accept it fully. Those challenges are the proving grounds of your future self. When obstacles arrive, as they absolutely will, you face one of two choices: retreat and preserve your current comfort, or rise and build something from the difficulty that comfort could never have provided. Those who achieve lasting greatness are not distinguished by having avoided hardship. They are distinguished by what they chose to do when hardship arrives. Every struggle you survive teaches you something that success alone could never have taught you. Every failure sharpens the edge of your judgment in ways that smooth progress cannot. Every fall builds a form of resilience that can only be constructed through the experience of having fallen and chosen to stand again. Resilience is not a characteristic assigned at birth. It is built deliberately in the fires of adversity, in those specific moments when everything within you is arguing for surrender and something deeper and quieter insists on continuing. And when you continue, something remarkable happens that cannot be manufactured any other way. You grow stronger, not only in your external capabilities, but in your belief in what you are actually capable of. So turn inward and ask yourself the question with complete honesty. What will define your story? Will it be the setbacks, the moments when things collapsed despite your effort, the failures that shook your confidence temporarily? Or will it be your response to those moments? Will you rise like Mr. Lincoln and declare through your sustained action that no storm has the power to permanently destroy the spirit of someone who has decided not to be? Broken, do not wish for the version of life that never tests you. Wish for the strength to find meaning inside the one that does. The moment you begin comparing yourself to others, you hand over the most valuable thing you possess, your power over your own direction. You diminish the unique value that only you carry. You blur the specific vision that was given only to you to bring into existence. What was once a clear path toward your own potential becomes obscured by the fog of doubt, distraction, and the chronic dissatisfaction of measuring your internal experience against someone else's external appearance. Ray Kroc, The man behind the explosive global growth of McDonald's understood this with a clarity that most business minds never reach. When he discovered the small hamburger stand operated by the McDonald brothers, he did not spend his energy comparing himself to other business owners or assessing whether he could match what others in his industry were building. He had no interest in what the world around him was constructing. He was focused with singular intensity on what he could build. He saw a vision where others looked at a simple operation and saw its obvious limitations. He pursued that vision with the kind of tunnel-focused commitment that comparison makes structurally impossible. Mr. Kroc built an empire that now spans the globe, not because he was watching what others did, but because he refused to take his eyes off what he was doing. Comparison is a thief with exceptional skills. It steals your joy so quietly you don't notice it's gone. It clouds your thinking while you are under the impression you are gaining useful perspective. It poisons your progress while disguising itself as motivation. When you measure yourself against another person, you are participating in a fundamentally rigged exercise. You only ever see their highlights, never their hidden struggles. You see where they have arrived, never the full cost of the road that brought them there. And in doing so, you begin to forget that your own path is unfolding according to its own necessary timing, and that timing belongs to no one else's schedule. When you become consumed by someone else's timeline, you abandon your own. You move out of alignment with the specific direction your life was meant to follow. You begin pursuing goals that were never authentically yours. And eventually you discover yourself exhausted, frustrated, and disconnected from your own purpose, not because you failed in any objective sense, but because you stopped being genuinely you. Your purpose is not to match or surpass the people around you. Your purpose is to become the boldest, most honest, most fully realized version of yourself that your potential allows. That version does not live inside comparison. It lives inside creation. It grows not by watching what others build, but by building something that only you could have built. Measure your progress against one standard only: who you were yesterday. That is the only comparison that has any legitimate bearing on your journey. Did you grow in some meaningful way? Did you learn something that expanded your capability? Did you move measurably closer to the purpose you have committed to? If you can answer yes to any of those questions, then you are succeeding, even if no external audience has noticed it yet. Do not allow envy to distract you from the pursuit of genuine excellence. Do not allow someone else's Chapter 20 to create doubt about your Chapter 2. The journey is longer than impatience wants to accept, and genuine greatness frequently begins in the quiet early stages where no one is watching and no one is applauding. Reclaim your power. Bring your focus back to center with the deliberateness of someone who understands exactly what is at stake. Every time the impulse to compare rises, pause. Remind yourself of the only truth that matters in that moment. You are not here to compete with anyone else's existence. You are here to create your own. Let your journey unfold as it was specifically meant to unfold. Let your growth be the only guide you need. Let your vision, not the world's opinion of what is realistic, define the direction of your success. Because when you finally stop comparing completely, you finally begin living completely. And in that freedom, in that reclaimed focus, the full magnitude of what you are genuinely capable of will begin to rise. Life does not reward rigidity. It consistently rewards those who remain curious, genuinely flexible, and fully committed to the practice of continuous growth. The world moves in constant motion, and those who rise to lasting greatness are not the ones who resist that motion, but the ones who develop enough intelligence and humility to evolve with it. Henry Ford was not handed success. He came from modest origins and earned every advancement through an appetite for learning that nothing could fully satisfy. Mr. Ford was not content to accept the world as he found it. He saw what it could become and then learned whatever was necessary to build that version. His success was not the product of a single brilliant insight that arrived conveniently. It was the accumulated result of relentless curiosity, a persistent willingness to test and revise, and an unwavering belief in the possibility of improvement. Through that mindset, he transformed not only his own circumstances, but the world's fundamental understanding of what industry, transportation, and human ingenuity could produce together. The moment you decide that you have learned enough, grown enough, or arrived at a level of achievement that no longer requires your full attention is the moment your decline becomes inevitable, because success is not a static destination. It is a dynamic living process that evolves continuously with the world it exists within. You must evolve with it, never stop expanding the boundaries of what you know. Read the books, ask the questions that feel uncomfortable. Seek out the mentors who have been where you're trying to go. Challenge the assumptions you have been holding without examining them. Push deliberately past the edge of what currently feels familiar and step into the unknown with the confidence that comes from knowing you have handled unfamiliar territory before. Adaptability is not surrender. It is not a weakening of your commitment. It is wisdom in action. The most powerful people in any field are those who can change their strategy without losing their fundamental purpose. They move with the intelligence of water, capable of flowing around any obstacle while never abandoning the direction they are headed. Life will not follow your original plan with perfect fidelity. Markets change, circumstances shift, opportunities arrive in forms you did not anticipate and close in ways you could not have predicted. Those who grip the old method, the familiar path, or the outdated approach will be left behind not by the world's cruelty, but by their own resistance. Approach every day as a student of your own experience. Look at every situation, including and especially the failures, as a classroom offering specific instruction. Ask what this moment is here to teach you. What strength does it make available that could not have been found in more comfortable conditions? What adjustment must you make to become better equipped for what comes next? Guard yourself carefully against the greatest enemy of genuine growth, comfort. Comfort whispers that you are fine exactly where you are. It tempts you to stop stretching, stop seeking, stop becoming. But comfort is not your ally. It is the most patient and persistent killer of your potential, precisely because it never announces its presence loudly enough for you to recognize the threat. Your future belongs not to the person who believes they already know everything worth knowing. It belongs to the person who maintains the hunger to learn everything that remains unknown. Adapt, grow, and rise with the understanding that every new capacity you develop adds to the strength you bring to every future challenge. In learning, you lead. In adapting, you master your own destiny. And the world will continue to belong to those who never stop becoming more. Passion is the heartbeat of lasting success. It is the invisible source of heat that keeps your commitment burning when every external signal suggests cooling down. Without it, every task becomes an obligation to be fulfilled rather than a contribution to be made. Every obstacle feels immovable. But when passion lives at the genuine center of your work, it changes the nature of everything you do. Helen Keller represents one of the most profound demonstrations of this truth that history has preserved. Blind and deaf before she reached the age of 2, her world was one of darkness and silence that most people cannot fully imagine, and yet she refused to accept the life that her limitations seemed to prescribe for her. Guided by a deep, burning desire to connect with the world, to learn everything it contained, to contribute everything she could offer, she became a symbol of resilience, courage, and the kind of purpose that no physical limitation can permanently confine. She did not merely overcome what stood against her. She thrived inside it. She became an author, a speaker, and an inspiration to tens of millions of people across the world. And the force at the center of her achievement was passion for knowledge, for human connection, for the work of fruiting of nutrients connection, for the work of lifting others, even from the position of someone whom many assumed would need to be permanently lifted themselves. That same force exists within you. The specific challenges you face may differ entirely from hers, but you face your own. And to rise above them, to build a life of genuine fulfillment rather than merely managed survival, you must find what lights the fire inside you. Ask yourself with complete honesty, What makes you come alive in a way that routine obligation never does? What work could you give hours to without watching the time? What mission or idea fills you simultaneously with excitement, meaning, and a sense that your contribution actually matters? That is your passion. That is your calling. And when you discover it and commit to it fully, your world transforms in ways that external motivation could never have produced on its own. Tasks that previously felt empty now carry the weight of meaning. Long hours stop depleting you and begin energizing you. Obstacles become puzzles. You are genuinely motivated to solve rather than problems that justify stopping. You stop depending on external motivation to keep you moving because the purpose itself pulls you forward from within. You become magnetic in the specific way that people operating from genuine passion always are, because the focus, the energy, and the quality of engagement that passion generates are impossible to counterfeit and impossible to ignore. Passion is not something that arrives unbidden when conditions are finally right. It must be discovered through honest exploration and then chosen with commitment. Sometimes it announces itself clearly. Other times it reveals itself only through the process of trying, failing at some things, succeeding partially at others, and paying careful attention to where your energy naturally concentrates when obligation stops dictating the direction. Whatever the process requires, pursue it. And once you find what genuinely moves you, build your life around it with the intensity it deserves. Let passion guide the decisions that shape your direction. Let it infuse the work you do with meaning that shows in the quality of every output. Let it make your days feel inhabited rather than simply occupied. The most successful people you will encounter in any field are not distinguished primarily by their resources. They are distinguished by the fire they carry inside. That fire allows them to endure what people without it consistently avoid. It pushes them forward precisely when rational analysis would justify stopping. It makes them genuinely unstoppable in the most durable sense of that word. Your mind is the most powerful instrument you will ever possess. Not merely a container that holds thoughts until they are needed, but an active creator of the reality you inhabit. What you consistently think about, you consistently move toward. What you focus on with sustained attention, you attract into your experience. The world you encounter on the outside is with remarkable accuracy a reflection of the world you have constructed on the inside. Norman Vincent Peale understood this truth with unusual clarity, and through his work, he championed the practice of positive thinking, not as comfortable self-deception, but as a practical and genuinely powerful force for transformation. His work helped vast numbers of people escape the habitual trap of self-doubt, debilitating fear, and patterns of failure by making one fundamental shift in their inner dialogue. From the language of defeat to the language of possibility. Positive thinking is not a philosophy that softens reality or denies the existence of genuine difficulty. It is a discipline, a form of mental strength, a way of moving through the world with intention and resilience regardless of what the world is currently presenting. When you cultivate a genuinely positive mental attitude, your relationship with challenges changes in the most practical way possible. They stop appearing as immovable roadblocks in the path of your progress and begin appearing as specific stepping stones that your intelligence can navigate. Setbacks transform from judgments into lessons. Failure becomes information rather than a final verdict. The subtle but revolutionary shift that positive thinking produces is in the questions you ask when difficulty arrives. You stop asking why this is happening to you, which is a question that positions you as a passive recipient of circumstances. You begin asking what this is here to teach you, which is the question of someone who intends to extract value from every experience, regardless of how it initially presents. This shift releases enormous amounts of mental and emotional energy that was previously consumed by resentment and confusion. And it redirects that energy towards solutions, creativity, and the kind of resilience that outlasts the difficulty that generated it. A mind saturated in negativity will always locate a reason to stop when stopping becomes available as an option. A mind rooted in genuine positivity will always locate a way to continue. When you think from a position of positive expectation, you naturally align with solutions rather than dwelling within problems. You tap into creative capacity that fear consistently suppresses. You attract people who resonate with the frequency of someone who expects things to work rather than someone who expects to be disappointed. You open doors that remain permanently closed to a mind that has decided in advance that they will not open. Begin each day by deliberately setting the tone of your thinking before circumstances arrive to set it for you. Speak affirmations with the conviction of someone who means them, rather than the hesitation of someone performing an obligation. Visualize the specific outcomes you are working toward with enough detail and enough emotional engagement that the visualization becomes preparation rather than fantasy. Surround yourself intentionally with the words, the people, and the habits that consistently reinforce your belief in what is possible for you. Guard the quality of your thinking as you would guard anything irreplaceable, because it is irreplaceable. Whenever a thought arrives that weakens rather than strengthens you, do not simply accept its presence. Challenge it. Replace it with a thought that serves the direction you are committed to. Redirect your focus with the decisiveness of someone who understands that every thought they entertain is either building their future or quietly dismantling it. Your inner world is where your outer world begins. If you want a different and better future, you must begin building it first in the quality of your consistent thinking. Knowledge alone does not change the trajectory of a life. Dreams, no matter how vivid and inspiring, do not build success on the strength of their vividness. What separates the people who simply imagine a different life from those who actually inhabit one is a single quality that distinguishes every significant achiever in every field: decisive action. Amelia Earhart did not dream of flight from a position of comfortable safety. She flew. In an era when women were systematically discouraged from pursuing aviation, she stepped into the cockpit with the kind of bold decisiveness that makes history rather than observing it. She did not wait for the world's approval or for conditions to reach the level of perfect readiness that hesitation always requires. She acted, and through the accumulation of her decisive steps, she shattered the boundaries that others had accepted as fixed, and carved her name into the permanent record of what human courage can accomplish. You carry dreams, you possess genuine knowledge, but none of it produces any result unless you move. The world does not compensate you for the quality of your intentions. It responds to the quality of your intentions. It responds to the quality of your actions. Hesitation is the specific enemy of progress because it functions as the waiting room where fear grows into paralysis. The longer you remain in that waiting room, the more space doubt has to expand until it occupies the entire territory that action should have claimed. The antidote to hesitation is decisiveness, not recklessness, but clarity that has been converted into motion. Decisiveness does not demand that conditions be perfect before you begin. Conditions will never reach the threshold of perfect that perfectionism establishes as the requirement for action. It demands that you assess your direction, make your choice, and move forward with the understanding that movement itself provides the feedback and builds the wisdom that waiting for certainty never could. Small actions carry more power than most people assign to them. Every single forward step, regardless of its apparent scale, is a brick laid in the foundation of what you are building. One decision made when it needed to be made. One conversation engaged with when the moment was present. One brave move taken before courage felt completely certain. These are the specific actions that accumulate over time into lives of significance. Make decisiveness a habit rather than an occasional departure from caution. When inspiration arrives, act on it before analysis has time to construct the case against movement. When an opportunity presents itself, engage with it rather than watching it from a distance while you continue assessing. Let decisive action be the force that keeps your life moving forward with purpose rather than drifting with circumstance. You are the author of your life, but the pen only moves when you decide to pick it up and use it. Choose boldly. Act with the speed that your goals deserve. Trust that even when you stumble, you are still accumulating the movement, the feedback and the wisdom that motion always provides, and that stillness never can. The most successful people who have ever lived are not the ones who never fell. They are the ones who fell and chose to act again without the delay that self-pity and excessive analysis demand. You are not here to live cautiously. You are here to live with the full deliberateness of someone who understands that their time is finite and their potential is not. The journey toward personal excellence begins now, not in the favorable future circumstances your hesitation is waiting for, but in this specific moment, with what you currently possess. Embrace your own path with the fierce loyalty it deserves. Set goals bold enough to be worth the years they will require. Cultivate the resilience the difficulty will demand from you, and that difficulty alone can provide. Reject comparison with the same decisiveness you would bring to rejecting any other poison. Remain adaptable without ever losing the core of what you are building toward. Ignite the passion that makes your work feel like contribution rather than obligation. Maintain the positive thinking that keeps possibility visible even when current evidence is suggesting otherwise. And act with the decisiveness of someone who has decided that their one life is too valuable to be spent waiting for external permission to begin. Your future is waiting at the other side of the courageous step you keep almost taking. Everything you are genuinely capable of lies within reach of the focused, disciplined, and deliberately directed version of you that this moment is inviting you to become. You hold the complete authority to shape your destiny. That authority has always been yours. It was never contingent on circumstances changing first. The only question that remains is whether today will be the day you finally fully claim it.